Hey everyone, wanted to take a second to show you how to make a Photoshop action and then apply that to a full folder. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up one image in question by just dragging it into Photoshop. Here we go. And then what I'm going to need to do is come up to Window, open up the Actions palette, and I'm going to create a new action. Here's the one we created in class the other day. There's some pre-formulated ones. Save as Photoshop, custom RGB to grayscale, that sort of thing that you can make use of. You can also download very complex ones that I can show you in class, but for today we're just going to use it for kind of a simple repetitive task. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new action. We'll call this grayscale to duotone to multi-channel. It's helpful to name them something that you might remember. It's also notable that you can add a function key, so you could just say function F1 if that's something you're going to do all the time. It might be worth doing. In my case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to click record and you'll notice now that it is currently recording. You can stop and re-record if you need to kind of jump out of the workflow for a second. But right now, anything we do will show up in this particular action. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up to Mode, Grayscale, click Discard, and you'll see down here it just converted that mode. The next thing I'm going to do is go to Duotone and click OK. Again, just showed up. Now I'm going to go to Multi-Channel, showed up again. Now we are going to save it as, and we'll save it as Photoshop DCS 2.0. Make sure that's an EPS. We're going to leave the name the same, and we're going to click Save, and click OK. And you could conceivably stop it here, but then you would have to manually come up and close this. And if you're doing a big bucket of files, say 40 or 50 in a folder, that becomes very tedious. So the final thing I'm going to do is come up here and click Close. And I'm going to have to pull that back up. It goes away when you don't have an active workspace, but it is actually still recording, so it needs to be the next thing I do. And then I'm going to click Stop. So there's two ways that we could apply this. We could say drag our file in, highlight the actual full action we want to apply to this, and click Play Selection. There it goes. It just did that. But manually dragging all these in and applying them is also kind of tedious, especially when you have hundreds of images. So we can use something called Batch Automate. And we are going to select a folder. We'll choose that folder right now. We're going to go to Source Images. We're going to choose that folder, so everything in there. You can include all the subfolders, suppress file options dialog so those don't get in the way. You can tell it to stop for errors, or you can just let it log them to a file and review them after the fact. You can also choose a new folder, and if you were to do that, you could also amend the document name, the file name, the file extension, any of that stuff. You can sequentially number them. In this case, I'm going to do none because we want them to have the exact same name, just a different extension, and we've already kind of baked that into our action. So I'm going to click OK, and you're going to see it is going to work. Think for a second, almost immediately open and close the images. And this is doing everything that I did in that action to that entire folder. So if we come back over and look, now we have all these extra files in here. We have all these different EPS files. It ran through those in that amount of time. It did 6 files. So now, if we were to look at any of these, they are converted and ready to go into InDesign and relink based on the file extension. Hope that helps with the actions. If you have any questions, let me know in Slack. Thanks.